What's up guys, Bill here, Krave Automotive. Today we have a very special build here in the shop and we are super excited to share this with you. We have James and Jennifer coming here today to see this truck for the first time, and we have dubbed this the Panama build.
Yes! Oh man!
Here you go guys.
Wow. Damn man, this is awesome! Wow! Wow and wow.
This Tacoma isn't being built for the occasional camping trip. It's being built for a journey that will span continents and become home for the next 5 years. From the Arctic to Argentina, before eventually settling in Panama, this truck will have to handle whatever the road throws at it. With a trip like that ahead, every decision came down to one thing: reliability. The goal wasn't to build the flashiest Overland Tacoma. It was to build one that could be trusted day after day in some of the most remote places in the world. That's exactly why James chose the Alu Cab ModCAP. After a lot of research, it's offered the best balance of durability, livability, and simplicity. It's lightweight, incredibly well built, and provides everything needed to comfortably live on the road for years without adding unnecessary complexity. Even the look of the truck reflects that philosophy. While still an incredibly capable build, the all-black theme was intentional, chosen to keep it as understated as possible. When you're traveling through dozens of countries over the next 5 years, sometimes blending in is just as important as standing out. Before all the accessories and finishing touches go on, there's a lot of work happening behind the scenes. We spend hours making sure the camper is mounted correctly, meticulously sealing every joint to keep out water and dust, and preparing it for years of abuse on rough roads. It's the kind of work most people will never notice, but it's exactly what gives you the confidence when your truck is also your home. The camper mounted, it's time to move on to one of the most important parts of the entire build: the electrical and plumbing systems. This is where reliability is either built in or overlooked. Clean wiring, properly protected connections, thoughtful plumbing routes, and components that are easy to service all takes time. There are no shortcuts here. When this truck is expected to travel across 2 continents and be lived in for the next 5 years, every wire, every fitting, and every connection has to be something you can trust.
Starting from the ground up, we have a set of BFG KM3 tires on this truck. We chose this tire specifically for this build because this truck is going to be seeing extreme temperatures up to 45, 50 degrees Celsius. So we wanted something that's going to be staying compliant, that's going to get them that longevity to make it all the way down to Argentina without having to change tires on this vehicle. This is in a 285/75/17, which is roughly a 34-inch tire on this truck. For the wheels, we decided to go with the Method 709 HD wheels, and these are in a +25 offset. Looking at the side of this vehicle, we do have the night top fender flares on here, and it's giving us really nice coverage on this vehicle. It's going to keep everything inside those wheel wells and keep this truck nice and clean. For the suspension on this vehicle, we decided to work with Dobinsons MRR suspension. We decided this is the best option for this truck. It's going to give us slow speed, high speed, as well as rebound adjustment on this vehicle. And it's also going to allow us to have a suspension setup that is rebuildable, but has very, very little maintenance requirements. So those lower bushings are not a spherical bearing, and they're going to basically not see the kind of use that we typically see out of a spherical bearing, requiring maintenance, requiring replacement over time. So nice low maintenance kind of setup on this truck. For the upper control arms, we have the Dobinsons billet aluminum. On the rear, we have heavy duty rear coil springs, and those are roughly 1,000-pound constant load coil. On the back, we have our Krave in-house built panhard correction kit, and then we also have all the links, the sway bar connections, as well as anything else that basically goes with these builds. Jumping to the front of this truck, we have a full suite of Greenlane off-road armor on this vehicle. On the front, we have a stump bumper, which houses a Warn VR10S winch. And then on the sides, we have a flat top slider, which is going to allow James to be able to get up onto the roof, get stuff off the vehicle, as well as give him that underbody protection. And speaking of underbody, we have a full suite of Greenlane skid plates, including the engine skid plate, as well as the transmission skid plate. For lighting on this vehicle, we decided to go with Baja Designs. We work with Baja Designs on pretty much all of our builds, and the reason we like them is they are just built to last. We have a full suite of Baja lights on this truck, including a S8 light bar on the front bumper. We have the fog light replacements for the SAEs, and then on the rear we have reverse lights. On the sides we have some side lights for scene lighting. And so we love Baja. We believe that these are going to basically withstand those hot temperatures and all the extreme conditions that this truck is going to see. Getting under the hood, we have some pretty sweet stuff here as well. So we went looking for a snorkel for this truck, and the only thing that we found was the K&N snorkel system. So we basically completed this build with a K&N air intake system with their snorkel. That's going to give this vehicle the ability to breathe clean, fresh air, whether it's in the desert, wherever it ends up being. Underneath the hood, we also have the A or B single compressor that actually has a in-house built mount that we make here at Krave. We have the switch underneath the hood, easy use of that AirB brushless compressor, and then we also have an upgraded battery system, which is basically paired into the battery system that goes as part of the camper. Underneath the hood here as well, we also have a Glind hot water system. This system is tied into the cooling system of the vehicle and basically allows for hot water to flow through those pipes and give you a hot shower if you need it. Keeping things nice and simple on the interior, we decided to use the factory blanks for all of those switches. So we have our light bar, our fog lights on the factory switch, as well as our side and reverse lighting. And then on the interior here, we also have a Wolf box camera system. That gives us a front bumper camera. It also gives us a forward dash cam, as well as a reverse view. When you have a camper on like this, you just cannot see. So these Wolf boxes are essential for a clear view all around the vehicle. And then for performance on this truck, we decided to use a Cobb tuner. This is a nice plug and play setup that's going to allow this vehicle to have different maps of tunes on here. We decided for an 87 octane tune for this vehicle. And if there's ever any issues, it's much easier and much simpler to plug this in, change your tune maps, and basically get things figured out on the road. Let's look at the roof. So obviously we have a Alu Cab camper on here. Brand new to the market is this Sherpa Rainier Shorty rack. We're super excited about this rack. It's basically giving us the ability to put some gear on the roof of this truck. It also helps with wind deflection and all that fun stuff. So on the front, we have 2 boxes for recovery gear, tools, anything that James doesn't want to use all the time, but needs access to if the event requires. We also have 2 Alu Cab jerry can mounts on there. That's going to allow him to get that extended range when he is up in the Northwest, needing obviously extra fuel for one of these tacos with a 68-liter fuel tank. Speaking of fuel tanks, we do have another fuel tank coming for this truck. We have a HeliView extended aux tank that is going to be going into this truck. This truck's going to be coming back to us in a few months, and we're going to be installing that at that time. And then one of my favorite features on these trucks is these Alu Cab tables. These slide in and out super easy. They're just something that obviously has to go on when you're doing the build on this truck, but it's an obvious choice in my opinion to just make camp life more comfortable. Jumping into the back of the truck here, we have a full FARHT Systems seat delete setup on here. This is not your basic seat delete. There's a lot going on here. So on the bottom platform, we have a access point for where the Blue Eddy system is actually set up. So inside here, we have a Blue Eddy Elite 300. That is going to give us AC and DC power. We like this setup primarily because it gives us 30 amps of DC output, which allows us to actually run the fridge, all of the lighting on the vehicle, and so forth. So this setup's working really, really well on these campers for us. On the top, we have additional storage for camera gear, anything that James wants to be able to put in there. And then on the top, more area for just gear, storage, whatever have you. Getting into the camper now, you'll see that we have a front mounted water tank. This water tank is a system that uses that Glyn hot water system, and basically it is going to feed water through that cooling lines, and then on the other side you have a tap for your hot water. It also has an internal pump that's going to give you some water pressure as well. So this is basically shower water, and then we have another water tank on the inside, which I'll show you, which is going to be for your freshwater drinking water. Obviously, we have to have the shadow awning from Alu Cab on one of these builds, and then what we did extra is we added the Go Flux lighting on here as well. Those allows us to have 3 different colors as well as they're dimmable. So you have amber light, red light, and white light. Dimming, it functions really nice. Those bugs are not going to like that red light so much. So depending on where you are in the world, you can change the color of your lighting depending on what your needs are. Let's open up this camper and check it out. All right, let's get into this. There's some really cool stuff on here. So most of our builds, we use the propane heaters, and they're great. They're great for taking the edge off. They're great for kind of that -5 degrees Celsius. But when you're dealing with extreme temperatures and you're dealing with extreme humidity, things that requires a system that works a little bit better in those events, a diesel heater system does work really nicely. So we work with 813 Fabrication, and they have an external diesel heater mounting system. This uses a Webasto heater, and what diesel heaters are great for is giving you heat that is not going to be as wet as propane. So we have a nice dry heat that's going to be able to keep that tent nice and dry. It's also going to be able to function at lower temperatures, so your extreme temperatures like -25, -30 degrees Celsius. This heater system is going to function a whole lot better for James and his wife. So 813 Fab did a really awesome job. Typically this heater would actually be on the other side of the camper, but due to having to have a spare tire on here, we decided to flip it over and put it on the driver's side. So a little bit different from normal, but I feel like it actually turned out really, really nicely. For the camping setup, we have the Alu Cab kitchen system on here. This is their basic camp kitchen, which allows you to decide on what you actually want to put in here, but it gives you ample storage and the ability to put anything that you want for your camp kitchen in there. You can put your stove on here, you can cook on the outside. We always set these systems up so that they're able to have propane on the outside of the camper if it is set up with propane. In this case, James will have to use a auxiliary tank or an extra tank for that kind of system. But really nice to have that platform, all of the storage just on the outside, easy to access. Finally, before we get into this vehicle, we do have the 813 Fab bolt lock on here as well. Obviously, this truck's going to be in some sketchy places, so you want to make sure that this back door is always locked. You can lock from the inside with your key fob. Lots of added safety by having that installed. So 813 Fabrication coming through with a lot of really nice products to complement this build. Finally, we're in the camper. So basically, the biggest part of this build is obviously the whole interior build up. James is going to be living out of this truck for a number of years, and obviously they need some creature comforts. So on this build, we decided to work with Alan and Joanne from FARHT Systems. They are local here to Calgary, and they do some incredible Alu Cab interior build outs. And to be honest, they probably make the nicest stuff for these Alu Cabs that I've seen personally anywhere. So this build is quite extensive. It's a little bit of a departure from their standard build outs. On the front, I think the main feature is this awesome 85-liter Dometic fridge. That's going to allow them to actually have something to sustain them for long periods of time on the road. This whole build out obviously requires a lot of electrical input and power as well. So we already mentioned that Bluetti system. That Bluetti system feeds everything that you see inside of this camper. So that includes the Philips Hue flux lighting in here. Really awesome. It's app controlled. You can control what the color schemes are. This nice white light's going to give a much better lighting environment for just kind of hanging out in the evening. We have a lagoon table where you can sit down, do some work, do editing on photos, video, what have you, and basically just hang out. Controlling all the electrical accessories on this build, we have this Blue Sea Systems that has all of our switches. So that's your Starlink, your lighting on the inside, your awning lights, etc., all running off the Bluetti system. We have our Webasto heater right here, so it's a nice control system that allows us to change the temperature inside the camper. And then this whole truck actually, this whole FARHT system has a fan system built in that is heat and humidity controlled. So due to the extreme temperatures it's going to be in, where there's going to be a lot of humidity, those fans will turn on based on what they're measuring. So if it gets too hot or if it gets too humid, those fans will start turning on depending on the outside environment. For the bedding on this truck, we decided to work with Hest. We replaced the mattress on this, as well as got the sheets and everything from Hest. They make an awesome product, just adds a little bit of extra comfort on these builds. One of my favorite features on this build is actually the sink. So looking in here, this sink is completely countersunk into this bench, which obviously has these seat cushions that you're able to actually hang out on. But when they're in an area where they don't want to have to necessarily do a lot of stuff on the outside of the camper, this allows them to brush their teeth, wash some dishes, do whatever they want inside here. So we have this sink, which actually has a UV filter as well as a filtration system for the water coming out of it. It has hot and cold water using that Glynn hot water system, and it basically just allows us to have running water inside this camper in a really compact form. James, Jennifer, you guys could have chosen any shop in North America to build this truck for you. You guys are obviously going to be going through all of the states. You're going to be heading down to South America. We're honored to build this truck for you and be a part of this journey with you. This is a really awesome build, and I think it really showcases what Krave is able to do under a tight timeline. We're able to follow all of the asks. You know, there's a lot of unique things on here that we don't typically do on our builds, like heat controlled and humidity controlled fans, things like that. But I think it really showcases that we're able to build these trucks to the needs of our customers and really listen and make sure that we're following all of the processes properly for a build that's going to be going through such extreme temperature variations. So guys, this is awesome. Jennifer, James, thanks again, and we can't wait to watch the journey.
Yes. Oh, man.
Here you go, guys.
Yeah, man, this is awesome. Wow. Wow and wow. Right here, right here, right